Good morning.
Good morning. It's March 3rd, 2024, and we're happy you joined us. Our conversation today is entitled, Can You Be All Right with What's Wrong with You? And the reason we thought about this title is that Bob and I have experienced more sickness, illness than we usually do the last 2 months. We've had colds and flus, and I had COVID. And, as metaphysicians, we believe that we're responsible for our health. We believe that our thoughts, our feelings, our expectations all affect our health. And so we know we're responsible but it's so easy when we get sick with things like this that we're just very critical of our bodies. We want this body part to get better and to not get sick for so long or so often. And we spend a lot of time trying to figure out what we're doing that's creating this.
I want to say a little bit about this business of cause and effect, because a lot of times what I've heard people say is, what's wrong with me that I keep having these colds? Well, what's wrong with my consciousness that I'm having a cold? Let's imagine for a minute that you have had a really tough week where you have been afraid many, many different times during the course of the week, afraid that negative things are going to happen, afraid you're going to be overwhelmed, afraid you're going to have an accident if you're on one of the expressways or whatever. Fear has an effect on the immune system. If the immune system is depressed, which it can be when you're afraid, because you don't need an immune system when you're running, you need all the energy that you can get to run. So compromising the immune system as a result of fear or panic or upset can make it possible to have a cold. So you didn't say, I wonder what's in my consciousness. I wonder if I have a cold consciousness. No, you don't have a flu consciousness, but what you do have are organs that in some cases are not as strong as other organs. And what's likely to happen is if there's a breakdown, it'll break down wherever there's a weak link. And the weak link is responding to the conscious thinking and the conscious mind you have. You could say that every cell has an emotional body and that it responds to the emotions that you have. And so when we talk about you're responsible, what we're really saying is it would be helpful for you, if you could, to think about what you're thinking and how you're feeling and ask yourself what I can do with that would help me. And it would really be valuable.
And we know that what I do is I get upset with my body because I'm used to having very good health. And so when I experience a lack of health, I get annoyed with my body, which is not helpful.
No.
It's not helpful. We need to love our bodies. And so I'm suggesting that when you're having a breakdown in any body part, which we do and will throughout life, even in childhood, that we spend some time loving those body parts and appreciating them. Meditation is a good time. I used to have a friend who, every time he meditated, he spent time loving every part of his body, particularly all the organs, but loving his eyes, loving his sinuses, loving his mouth and throat, loving his thyroid, his thymus.
You've gone far enough.
He loved all his body
parts. Yes. And that's it. We're not talking about it anymore. Some of you already know about how to love body parts, but we're talking the entire body at a cellular level.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing to do. It's a really good thing to appreciate your body, and that helps it heal much better than being upset with it or annoyed with it.
Yeah.
And Bob has a wonderful analogy that he told me about.
Yeah. Just imagine that you bought a car, and when you bought that car, it was kind of like having a baby. It was shiny. Everything worked. It was just, when you get in it to drive it, it was exciting because it was so smooth and easy and comfortable and perfect. And you couldn't believe that you could go so fast, so easily, and that things were so good. And so you drive the car and you drive the car, and then something breaks. And you're thinking, what happened? Something broke. I don't understand. I bought this car believing that everything was perfect. Analogous to, I thought I had perfect legs until I had to get 2 new knees. I thought I had perfect shoulders until I had to get 2 new shoulders. And I think, what's wrong with this car? It's breaking down. So what happens as it breaks down is we begin to lose confidence in it. And we also begin, more importantly, to lose an appreciation of it. And so this old car you've had, is now that it's getting old, you start treating it as a has-been car, as a car that it's had its day and it's no longer worth anything. What happens is you throw out the entire car because of the things that break down. we also do that with our bodies. Things start breaking down and we throw out the idea that we're ever going to be okay or that we are okay, that anything is right, which is really sad. So imagine now you have a car that's now getting old, and other people refer to it as your old car. And they don't talk about your car as much as they talk about the age of it. They're amazed that it still gets around. And so you put it in a garage because it's an old car. I don't want, I'm embarrassed to have old things. So you get a new car and the whole process starts again, the excitement, the joy, the new things it has on it that the old car didn't have. And then somebody comes to your house and they say, can you mind if I put something in your garage? Because I don't have any storage space. And you say, fine. And this person happens to be a car collector. And when the garage door goes up, they look in and they are aghast. I can't believe what they're seeing. They're seeing a 25-year-old car and what to them is in mint condition. To them, it is a beautiful car reaching that perfect period of time to be celebrated, acknowledged, and enjoyed. And you're saying, what do you see? What are you looking at? You're looking at my junk car, my old car? No, I'm looking at an incredible piece of machinery that was designed with all of the technology, reflects the thinking that was available at the time. And of course it broke and things break. That's what, do you mind if I take your car and I spend some time restoring it? Get it out of here. I've had enough of it anyway. It's an old car. We often say to ourselves, I'm an old person. Get me out. I can't get out of here, can I? I got more living to do. I wonder how long this is going to go on. So the person restores the car. They take out the dents. They remove the rust, new shoulders, new knees, whatever you need, cataract removal, lenses, and a new you shows up. Well, they drive over to your house now with the old Packard that was just, I can't believe anybody would even want one. And it is beautiful. But more importantly than it's being beautiful, every other car that was built since that time has some of the Packard in it. Some of the Packard thinking is in that car that you're driving. That car represents a period of time that cannot be repeated, but can be enjoyed and appreciated, like you. And so if we were to take a look at it and say, wow, this is beautiful, it would become beautiful. If we could look at people that are aging, ourselves in particular, in the mirror and say, what a beautiful specimen of humanity. It doesn't get better than this. I'm a collector's item. They would say I'm an antique, and I would say, that's wonderful. That means that I will pay less money for a license. What we could do is look at ourselves and the breakdowns as what happens because just as the car was invented to run for a while, it wasn't invented to run forever. And even your newest car that is absolutely wonderful and meticulously put together, seamless in everything that it does, in 10 years from now will have breakdowns. Will you then discard everything about that car? Or will you say, maybe I do need to get a new one, but does that mean the one that I would have been driving has no value? Now, we're not going to get new bodies. So we're going to have to take care of our bodies, but treating our body and treating our consciousness like it's a gift, it's a treasure, it has value, no matter how many parts of it are broken or things don't work, is very different than, yeah, well, my eyes went, my shoulders went, my knees went, I don't know what's going to go next. I guess I give up. And then wondering why having given up affects our immune system to the point where we begin dying. Right. And so we often program our death by having given up on our body, by having given up on ourselves. The other piece to that, which I'll tie in, and I'm going to give it back to Judith because she's dying to say something. No, is, and I lost where I was going to go with this. I hate that when that happens because I'm getting old and my brain is just fried and there's nothing in it. Oh, stop. The talk is not about that. The talk is, see how quickly we go to, these programs.
Appreciating your wonderful brain.
Appreciating your wonderful brain. Yes. But another part of that, which I'll get to later when I can remember it, is that you are a sacred piece of machinery, sacred in that when you begin to celebrate you, things operate differently. Now, remember this, now I remember what I was going to go. It came back to me. You didn't buy a car because it performed well. You didn't buy a car because—
or that it would last forever.
Or that you bought a car because you wanted to get from point A to point B. And here's the deal that's really, really important. When it's really, really important for you to get from point A to point B, you will take care of the machinery that will help you get there. And taking care of that machinery is really, really critical. So what I'm suggesting that instead of going from point A to point B, I would say going from point A, which I got nothing to do, to point B, I'm passionate. That when you have something that you're passionate about, you will do the repairs and you will do whatever you need to do to take care of the machinery that's going to get you there. I spend a lot of time, because I work with people all the time, noticing how many times they have given up on themselves that they don't notice, and how the impact of that has them being treated as someone who doesn't count.
Mm.
And so you stop taking care of yourself because who cares? I'm not going to be here forever anyway. You stop being courteous or nice to people because who cares? I don't have friends anyway. I'm going to be dead in another year. And you repeat that conversation again and again. And what's true is the only thing you're passionate about, if one could argue you're passionate, is that you're passionate about having given up. And so there's two pieces to this. One is if you could treat yourself as a valuable, beautiful, sacred instrument that's designed to be here for a fairly short amount of time and take care of it, and you are passionate about the things that you have in mind to do, you would live a long, long time compared to people who don't have either of those things. And we know that looking at Dr. Viktor Frankl, who spent time in a concentration camp. He didn't just survive it. He lived to create a kind of therapy. And we saw him when he was in his 90s and still a survivor of not only that, but he was passionate about his teaching. And I'm not going to go through the whole story because it's not relevant to today. But what is relevant is we saw him in California stand up, a little shaky because he was very old. He stood up to
He
do
said his wife would be his eyes because he lost a lot of vision.
Yeah, he admitted what was broken. He said that my eyes are broken. I can have a hard time standing, and it's not an easy life. And then he began talking about his experience and what he learned, and the core of the teaching that he wanted to share with us. What was
And the slides that he showed, and his wife told him which slide it was, were taken in the 40s.
Yes.
And when he was told which slide it was, he aged backwards.
That you stole my thunder.
Oh, I did.
That's exactly what I
He
wanted, and
aged
that's
backwards,
perfect. Yeah.
and he became more vibrant,
Robust,
spoke more
strong.
robustly, and became more like he was at the age in the 1940s.
I swear, we watched a man become young again, just as a result of his passion, what was important to him,
That's
what
right.
he did that made a difference. So the key to a long life is deciding that is a life worth living, that there's something to live for, and then taking care of the body in spite of its breaks and the things that go wrong with it, and doing whatever adjusting you have to do, because this is an incredible piece of machinery that you're only here for, only here with for a little while.
Exactly. And what we believe is true about life and life as a human being is that we are spirits. We are spirits who live eternally, and that we choose to come to earth for a brief period, somewhere between 60 and 100 years, to have an experience, to grow and evolve. And after that time, we go back to spirit, where we can evaluate how we did and how much we grew with the challenges that we gave ourselves, and then come back and do it again in a different form.
Or continue.
Or not.
Yeah.
Continue to evolve in other realms. But we believe life is eternal. So why get miserable or upset with our bodies when they start not being as perfect as they used to be? After all, they weren't designed to last forever. They were designed to last between 60 and 100 years. Cars, when I first started driving cars, if they got to be 100,000 miles, that car was done for. You know, it needed a new block, it needed new cylinders, it needed new transmission. And so you just bought a new car. Then the Japanese started building cars that would go 200,000, 300,000 even miles.
But the philosophy in Asia at the time, and I think it may still be true, I don't have a lot on that, was to do things that would last forever. The idea was in our particular culture, it's new, it's good, it's old, it's worth, throw it away. It's not, it's just,
we want you to buy a new one in 3 years. So we'll make our engines with tin, and so the metal will deteriorate faster. Built-in obsolescence, right. It's called. That was our value, and so that's what we got. But when the Japanese started making these cars that would go for so many more miles, our car makers had to do it also.
Does that mean I should have gotten my shoulders and my knees from Japan?
No, but I'm glad you got them anywhere.
Yeah, really. We are living much longer than we used to. When I say that, we're living much longer with greater opportunity to actually continue to have a life. What we know is that, you know, when your hair falls out or turns gray and you can't walk very well and you've got cataracts and you need knees, but you can't get them, and you need shoulders and you can't get them, and you sit in a chair and listen to a radio because you can't see the TV, there's not much to live for. We're really past that now. we really can live into our 80s and 90s in it with a great deal of vitality.
Yes.
So the question really is, how can I live my best life rather than things aren't going well, it must be over? Because as we think, it becomes. When we pull the plug on passion or the idea that we can live a long time, the body says, oh, okay, that's true. And things begin to shut down. Usually wherever there's the greatest weakness or wherever the genetic structure of the body wasn't as well thought out or as planned or as able to survive. And that part begins to break. Yeah, half of my family died from heart attacks. I'll probably be dead from one too. Well, when you say that, it's a message to the heart that you don't expect it to be around for a long time. And not only that, but I'm old and there's not a lot to live for anyway. I mean, who really cares? I mean, it's not fun getting old.
But I want to talk about when you are experiencing a breakdown or a pain somewhere. It's not helpful, as you said in the beginning, to sit there and say, why did I create this? Why did I cause this to happen? One of my teachers used to say, if you sit down on a pin, you don't sit there and say, why did I
Let me
sit
stay here
on this pin?
until I can figure
What
it
was
out.
going on in my thinking that had me sit on this pin? He said, no, you get off the pin and then later on you can evaluate why that happened to you.
Yeah.
But right now, just stop the pain if you can. And that's a good way to think about it, and quit blaming yourself. It's not a good time to do blaming yourself when you are actually in pain or having trouble. Love yourself, love your body, know it's getting better,
Mhm.
and it will. It will, and be patient with it.
I've met a number of athletes who are physically at our age in much worse repair than we are. And I asked why you took such extraordinary care. And they said, yes, we also gave our bodies extraordinary wear. And
Mhm.
because we wore them the way we did, we have all the benefits of all the learning that we got and all the experiences that we will value from that. That in no way means that things aren't broken because of overuse or difficult, challenging use. That does mean, however, and the athletes I know that have really made it well in their lives after they've had to give up their careers have become coaches, or they found something they could do that they were passionate about that was connected to what they had learned about, as opposed to sitting there saying, well, I guess all there is left for me to do is drink. Well,
Well, and let's talk about some people who lived long lives who were passionate. I just thought of a new one, which was Stephen Hawkins,
yeah.
you
Oh
know,
my
with
God.
terrible, debilitating disease. I'm not sure even what it was. It was probably something like ALS, where the muscles deteriorated and he even lost the ability to speak without a special electronic device that I think interpreted his breath to speech. But because he was so passionate about his work as a physicist, and even taught in universities, he lived to be quite long
Yeah.
for that disease.
Yeah.
And we've talked about Einstein, how long he lived.
Picasso.
Picasso was passionate about making art. Who else did we talk about? We thought had lived long lives
Uh,
because of their passion.
yeah. Well, the musician I did.
Oh yes, the musician that was a pianist
GRP.
label, and he wrote the song for On Golden
He
Pond.
wrote, he did his whole sound. Dave Grusin.
Dave
Dave
Grusin.
Grusin is a pianist and a composer and has done, he did, the soundtrack for On Golden Pond. He did soundtracks for probably a dozen movies.
Mm.
Extraordinary. Well, here's the deal. He's 87 years old. He's got really bad arthritis and has had arthritis, from what I understand, since his early
In
40s.
his hands.
In his hands, yeah. And I've been told that it's really painful for him to play and that he's on tour at 87 years old, on tour. So what that means is that he has a passion that's great, that he is allowed to or invited to be greater than his pain. When your pain is greater than your passion, you need to really work on how passionate am I really? What can I do with that? And is there another way I can transform that passion in so that it gets to be expressed? Hawkins is a great example of that. They developed a computer that would actually respond to his eye contact to the different
Oh
words
my
that would
gosh.
speak for him. He was actually responsible, I believe, for some of the technology that he got to use because they
Mm.
invented it for him. So in his worst days, he was part of what helped to create what was needed. Amputees have been the reason that we have developed the technology we have, the robotic technology we have, because we've had to master how the brain works with the limbs in order to be able to beat robotics, but also to be able to create limbs. So the worst breakdown has often led to the greatest breakthrough.
Well, what we've talked about is with taking care of your body, is loving your body, and also about how to be happier, even when you have breakdowns here or there. So I wanted to bring up that I'm offering a class along with Dr. Pamela Gray. And this is her book that we'll be using, which is
And it
called,
won't be in reverse.
is it in
Yeah,
reverse?
it's
Oh,
it's
it's called Power Your Decisions, is the workbook, and it's very powerful. We're offering 4 classes that are Saturday afternoons from 1 to 4, and one a month from starting in March. And so the first one is about finding happiness and keeping keeping happiness. And we're doing that on March 23rd, Saturday, March 23rd. And the cost for the 3-hour seminar, it's more than a class, it's a
a workshop.
interactive workshop, so that you will have experience in what you need to learn to create greater happiness in your life. And the one in April is creative expression, finding something that you can be creative with that gives you passion. In May, health and well-being. In June, living richly. So that's about prosperity. The classes are $100 each, or the workshops. If you do all 4, there's a 15% discount. And the way you register is to go to Dr. Pamela's website. And I'll be posting this and sending out flyers on it. But the website is poweryourdecisions.com /workshop. So that's how you register for it. And certainly you may call
And who's going to be teaching
me, Dr. Pamela and I.
You maybe?
Yes.
This will be good.
So, and it's based on the work of Dr. Raymond Charles Barker, which many of you know in New Thought. It's very powerful, very powerful.
Whatever you can do in favor of having your best life, in favor of not having the obstacles be what's in front of you, but rather what's next to you or behind you, is so worth doing. Whether it's in thought. Well, last night we spent probably 2.5 hours watching YouTube music videos, and the Playing for Change. We watched, I think, maybe 10 of them. It was so uplifting and so encouraging. It's hard to be depressed or to give up on your life when you're watching musicians all over the world, often in great poverty,
Often in great wealth.
and they're all playing together and they're celebrating life. You need to hang out, if not in person, because maybe you can't get together with people that are celebrating life. Then celebrate life with music, celebrate life however you can. The celebration is the exact opposite of having given up.
All of their songs are about community, helping one another. And it's fabulous because, as he said, they have singers and performers all over the world, and they show them one at a time, but you see that people all over the world are participating in creating that
they're
song.
all playing at the same time in different places and all mixed together.
Yeah, they're listening to it.
It's extraordinary. The other piece that I want to bring up about that is so important is we often see musicians or artists, when they have made it, as if they have always been in that realm. Playing for Change started with people, street performers, playing for change.
Yes,
And it's
kind of
graduated
got the same. They were literally playing
playing
for change
for
that
loose
you would
change
put in.
on the street. If you can start playing for change on the street, and you may or may not have had any musical education, and end up with Bill and Melinda Gates helping fund your organization
Yeah.
to help the planet improve and change for the positive, that's quite a journey. And so what you're going to see are extraordinary musicians who have never had the extraordinary recognition that you would see on MTV or you would see at the award ceremonies. I don't think any of the musicians, well, actually they're bringing now great, well-known musicians on to play with them. But the core group has never had the fame, and they're making a difference. And why that's important is you don't have to have fame to make a difference to other people or to be the difference you need to see in your own life.
Exactly. So it's time for us to close now.
And we'd like to invite you, if you can, to support us.
Oh, yeah.
However you can. And I don't think that's up, so we
No,
can't really
it's
do
not.
that. But what you can do is write a really big check and send. All right.
So you could do that.
Yeah,
I
actually,
think
now
our
that I think
address
about
is
it, sure.
listed on our website,
Yeah.
which is CSLPalmBeaches.org. And that will open our website, and there's a button on the top that says ways to donate.
The way that you got to sign on today is the site you go to, and that's the way you can donate. Here's what I predict. Somebody's going to send us a check for $10,000.
Woohoo! That would
I
be
just don't know who, and I'm hoping it's not going to be too long.
so.
What I have,
So they
but what I have to do is be willing to see the greater possibility rather than the less. So I'm imagining that we're doing extraordinarily well, and you can imagine with us that you're doing extraordinarily well with us, and that we're part of living for change.
Indeed. And if you're seeing this, you're seeing it on Facebook or YouTube, and that is not the way that you go to the website.
No.
The
Oh,
website
that's
is
a good point.
CSL, Center for Spiritual Living, stands for that, CSL palmbeaches.org. That's how you get to our website to donate.
I never thought of that.
And of course, the names are similar for Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah, so if you go on the web and you're looking for that CSL Palm, and you just have palm, you may get plasma, CSL's blood. We don't want you to give your blood. We would just like you to support us any way that you can. We love doing this. Obviously, we do this every week. We've been doing it now for a long time. And so join us if you can next Sunday. Join us whenever you can. And we know that you're part of an incredible family of people that are making a difference. And we want to make the difference with you. So we want to thank you and say today we're going to sign off.
Very good. It was fun.